This is David Toulis. Traffic court around the country, traffic court here in Tennessee, is a sociological phenomenon. It is a subjudicial and sub-legal court in which poor people, common people, immigrants, and minorities are ground to powder, if you will. And yet there is, on the part of the judges, let's say Marty Lashley and Saudi Daisy, whose court for traffic meets monthly, and in East Ridge, Chris Helton, who apparently has a traffic court every Tuesday, there is on their part a kind of lenity and a kind of grace, which I'd say is it to the favor of the system, which softens the blow, softens the gears, if you will, that grind through the flesh of the people, raking them into that system for a little bit of holding them by the ankles, turning them upside down, shaking gently, and hoping that coins and bills fall out onto the floor so that the clerk of the city court in East Ridge yesterday might collect a penny or two. And that is, I say that because it is perhaps small change every Tuesday that goes to municipalities across Chattanooga. And what happens in these courts is that there is a generosity on the part of the judge that overlooks the ferocious but false claims of the law on these people who are the victims of the system. They are victims of the system. They're dragged into that court under the authority of Title 55, misapplied, but nonetheless applied, the officer being the accuser, and they are disposed of very rapidly. And the beginning of the proceedings on Tuesday in East Ridge are very well. The begin at 3, and the process is extremely rapid. It's very rapid. It's so fast you would say almost that the system looks at the people as cattle that have to be shunted through a narrow gate. You know, one person, one defendant at a time, and he can't avoid passing by the clerk's window there in the atrium of the courthouse. That same building has in East Ridge a library and the administrative offices, and then there's the court. And before court, the cop cars line up on one side, and the cops are all standing about in motorcycles and cars. Their armor plates under their blue vests. They're bristling with weapons, pistols, and tasers, armed to the teeth for potential for war. We're not sure exactly what they're waiting for. What armed encounter they're fearing is next. And the contrast between the subservience of the people in East Ridge and from other places who are caught in you might say, the trap in East Ridge, the contrast between their subservience and their silence and their unwillingness to resist on the basis of law and the law enforcers is, in my mind, it is stark. It is a stark contrast of ferocious, firm, clear, commanding authority by the police officers of that city, and the people that are herded through, and they're herded in a way like animals. And in a way, I don't like saying herding and cattle, the image of cattle, but that is in financial terms how they're viewed. They're viewed as a source of small change. The main amount that is thrown about from the judge's bench is the word court costs. Most everybody goes through and they're stuck with court costs, which are bigger in almost every case than the actual fine. Fine for a crime. These are crimes of which these people are charged in a full courtroom. The room absolutely full. Not enough chairs in the auditorium. The courthouse was built with the idea of giving business for municipal government, making sure with all those seats there that we have those seats filled in every occasion that we can, and that we can effectively rape the people so that we might have a tinkling of coin in our coffers. And the coin in administrative terms and in municipal terms is small. It's a $98.50 court cost for almost every person who goes through. Some people were given a $2 fine plus court cost. So you had a $98.50 court costs with a $2 fine. That gives your total $100.50. Traffic courts are sociological, they are subjudicial, they are sublegal. And I say sublegal not just because they operate outside the statute, and the people brought there under the statute of Title 55, almost not a single person whom I saw yesterday, not a single one was involved in transportation. Not a one. Not anybody there was a cab driver, a truck driver, a hauler, someone who is using the public road for hire. Not a single person. And caller, this is David Toulis. You're live on the air. What's on your mind?
Hey, Dave. I called 800-8949, so I got the right number.
Oh, great. Yeah, 800-8949. Thanks. That's right.
I'm infuriated over over what the judge gave as a penalty to Walker for killing 6 kids. I'm absolutely furious. What is wrong with Tennessee courts? I've sat in Tennessee courts, and for minor offenses, people go to jail. But this guy killed 6 people. He gets 4 years. And the judge's criteria was he's not dangerous. I'm not dangerous, but there's people I'd probably like to knock down because they tick me off. So if I just go kill somebody, if I just decide to kill somebody, for whatever reason, and I've never done it in my 60 years, and I show I'm not a danger, do I get 4 years in jail? What's a life worth? What the hell is wrong with Tennessee courts? He killed 6 kids because he wasn't paying attention. He was slamming on the brakes. He was speeding, and the county knew it. And what? Hamilton County is guilty. They murdered 6 children. Hamilton County School District murdered 6 children. They knew this guy did this, and they did nothing. Oh, bless his heart. It's okay. He just didn't know what he was doing. We're going to forgive him. He murdered 6 kids. What the hell, Judge? 4 years? Are you serious? Maybe that's why cops kill people on the street, because they know they're not going to get justice in court.
Come on, Mike. That's ridiculous.
No, well, look, he killed 6 kids. He got 4 years.
Well, listen, the problem may be that he wasn't.
The cop would have just shot him on the spot. That would have been justice more so than 4 years in jail. Come on, man.
Well, there seems to be a lot of neglect on the part of Durham Bus Services and the county. Zach Peterson and Mike in the Time Free Press this morning has in his story reference to one of the surviving moms, and she apparently has word in civil discovery that the bus that he was on, that he was in charge of, had hundreds of speeding alerts before the crash. Hundreds.
Well, not only that, David, we saw the complaints a long time ago.
Yes.
And no one reads the Times Free Press anyway, so that doesn't matter. I mean, that's like, I buy that from the line like birdcage. Who cares? Does anybody ever even read the paper that's under 70? I don't think so. But that aside, and then, they knew he wasn't a good driver. Listen, here's the standard. The government should get this. From the dog catcher to the president, you're not allowed to use foul language, number one, because you work for us. No foul language. You're not allowed to treat people with disrespect. And if your employees do, fire them, bus driver or whomever. And judges, grow some gonads. When someone comes in front of you that has killed 6 kids, give them life in jail per child, not 4 years, and then a chance of probation of, oh, I'm so sorry, Your Honor. Yeah, you're sorry you got caught. I didn't mean, I was texting and driving. I hit my brakes. The kids were too loud. Cut me a break. Are you serious? I mean, I want to hear what other people think, but I am furious over this. I mean, David, I am furious.
Okay, listen, Mike, thanks. Mike is furious, and if you, my listener, are furious, the number is 800-8949, 800-8949. And this is an important story, but notice also there's something in the hearts of the victims, the survivors, that tells of forgiveness. It was after all an accident. There was neglect. And Jonathan Walker is convicted of reckless driving, and reckless driving is a statutory offense. It is the misuse of a vehicle in commerce. He was a bus driver. He was in commerce, and he had a duty to be careful for the cargo he carried. And in this case, it was human cargo. And using the phone, which violated the internal rules, he violated that. He also wasn't careful. He was speeding, and in many previous instances, according to the court testimony, he shook the children around by abrupt turns. Parents complained about bad language. Parents complained about jamming the brakes on to warn the kids, right? Warn the kids to stay straight and to be quiet and to sit in their seats. And these are all signs of a man not qualified to have that high charge of carrying school children, and yet he was. So there is fault elsewhere that's going to be handled. That fault will be attributed to Durham in civil litigation. But the parents, some of the parents are very forgiving, and so perhaps the anger of people such as Mike, whom we just heard from, might be mitigated by words such as those of Misty Nash. She's quoted at TV9's account of the hearing yesterday, in which she was the only parent. This report says sort of took Jonathan Walker's side. She says that she said, Jonathan, I forgive you. I don't blame you. She says, I have a son like a year and a half younger than you. That could have been my child riding in the school bus. You know what I'm saying? She said, I'm 37. I'm grown and I made mistakes. I speed with other folks as children in my car. I talk on the phone with other folks as children in the car. I speed. The point that I'm making, she says, is that everybody do things that they shouldn't do. I know that you didn't intend to hurt them children. I remember seeing your face the day of the bus crash, she says. I seen how you looked at. I seen how hysterical you was, and I seen the emotion and everything. You know what I'm saying. And I know, she says, in the bottom of my heart, that you did not try to harm them children at all. And what she's pointing out there is that there was not intent. There was neglect, but there was not intent. And that's why Judge Poole, I think, says, well, given my instruments, given my means of assigning guilt and punishment, that's what I'm going to make it to be 4 years, though it could have been longer. And the fact that this young man had not had any criminal record and was generally liked and so on, these things are held up. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I'm missing something important. And if I am, you need just to let me know. It's David Toulis here, 900-800-8949, 800-8949. It's a local call. She says, on behalf of Zoe and Zechariah, I want him to go easy on you, on your time, she says, pleading for more lenient treatment for Jonathan E. Walker, convicted in the Woodmore bus crash fatal to 6. I really feel like putting you in jail for a long period of time is not going to bring my child back, she says. It is not going to ease my son's mind of the things that happened to him. Prison is not the answer to everything, she says. This is Misty Nash, quoted here on TV9's website. So if it was up to me, I wouldn't want you to get any time for Zoe and Zechariah. This is David Toulis. You're live on the air. What's on your mind?
David, there doesn't have to be intent. It's manslaughter. There's no intent necessary. I just got a question for your listener. Okay, the forgiving listener, because he had children that he's responsible for. Of course, he didn't intend to do it. He didn't intend to get in an accident, but he had children that he was responsible for. How much time should he have gotten? Why don't we just let him go? Let him go. Well, why give him any jail time? I have a question for you, okay, and your listener. How much time would be appropriate? Can you give me a number?
Yes, there is an answer, and prison is not the answer. And Misty Nash, I think, though she hasn't really read, she hasn't read any of the treatises that have come my way regarding justice and victims' rights. She's looking at prison as either a shorter length or longer length as the answer. That is not the answer. I'd say the answer, the local economy answer to Jonathan E. Walker, is compensation. And that would entail probably a lifetime of servitude to these families. And that would be in this way, that he makes a compensation personally to these families. There are 6 families that he would be making compensation to for the rest of his life, because there's no way he could pay off the cost of one lost life. So what would happen would be this: there would be actuarial people, probably out of the insurance industry, who would say this child is worth this much money, his life. And that would be based on background, calling, and so on of the family. And then a valuation would be made of the value of one life, maybe $1.5 million, maybe $2 million times 6. That would be That would be $12 million. So Anthony Walker would be responsible for paying back effectively, if it had to be monetized, $12 million. He couldn't possibly do that. It's not likely. But the punishment would be restorative to him, and it would be restorative spiritually and economically to the families. And that would be that Jonathan Walker would not be in prison at all. He wouldn't be in prison at all. There would be no punishment, but there would be, in the interest of victims' rights, mind you, there would be a program in which he personally would tend to these families. He would have 6 families. He would be responsible to. Okay, they are responsible for him and for receiving from him service and payment as best he's able. Whatever Jonathan Walker is worth, he would be making compensation until the debt was paid. And now this is effectively slavery. We have slavery already. Okay, we have slavery in the state system. The state prison system is a slave system. It's constitutional. We have in Tennessee legal slavery for those people duly convicted. Every state has slavery. Okay, and we had chattel slavery of black people in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, and in the 19th century. Okay, we had from the beginning of the Republic. In the early colonies, we had slavery. Now, we don't have chattel slavery anymore. We have state slavery. Now, look what happens in state slavery. It's purposeless. You're in prison for 4 years, up to 4 years. It's purposeless. You learn crime. You can't produce anything. You can't make anything. You don't learn anything. You're not bettering anybody. It is a school for vice. It is a school for Islam, for homosexuality, and a purposeless existence that does no benefit to the victim. 800-8949, 800-8949. And so what the biblical model is, the model that I espouse as a Christian and a free market analyst, is this: there should be a personal compensation made under the supervision of Judge Don Poole. And that would be an effective slavery of Jonathan Walker, probably for life, unless, of course, he comes upon something that makes him remarkably wealthy, remarkably some providential experience or some providential discovery or invention that comes his way or that he creates that allows him to pay off the debt more rapidly. But until he pays that debt, he has a personal bondage, a bondage of the soul, a bondage of his will, and a bondage of his economic future. To whom? To the victims, right? He can't restore. Since there was not intent, and since there was negligence, that I don't know that would be before God worthy of capital punishment. Maybe God would say it is worthy of death, but that's not in view. And I would say probably I'm not read in this area that probably it was, since intent was not involved, there would have to be a claim by the families against him, and the judge would oversee those claims and steward those claims and make sure that Jonathan Walker, for as long as he had an outstanding debt to those families, he pays them back. But notice what happens here. It's personal. So Jonathan Walker is in those families. He goes to eat lunch at their houses. He's there on the weekend. He's helping out. At some point he gets married and has children. And his family is integrated and integral with those families. And Misty Nash has that Christian spirit. Notice in her the grace of God. So let's say that Misty Nash is owed $1.5 million for the loss of one child, one of her children, Zoe. She lost 2 children, Zoe and Zachariah. So she's owed effectively $4 million. Notice what Misty Nash can at some point do. At some point, she can say, I forgive you in my heart for the sin involved in your crime. But now my family and I have decided we're going to forgive you of the whole. We're going to forgive you of the whole debt that you owe us. We know you can't pay it back. And we know you've been faithful for these 4 or 5 years now, serving us, giving us money that you've earned in your various labors and various jobs. And we're going to forgive you legally of the whole. We're going to forgive you. You've given us time. We've gotten to know you. We love you. You're like our own son, she says. And though you owe us still $1,950,000, $1,900,500, we're going to forgive you. And that's what would happen in a biblical system. So you see, the idea that Christianity has nothing to say about courts is simply ridiculous. It does. And that's what would happen in a scenario that Christians should yearn for. We hear a lot of Christianity in this story, and there's this picture of forgiveness. And I think it could be not just in spirit in Misty Nash's heart. It could be a real judicial system as well. This can be done in the future. Chuck Colson thought in this direction. He didn't go far enough, but it is something that the Reformed Church has developed, particularly the Neo-Puritan school of Reformed faith. That's where this kind of analysis comes from. This is David Toulis, and we're talking about John Anthony Walker, and we're also going to be talking about the Mountain Creek fight. And I want to get back to Chris Helton. Chris Helton, who oversees the court of traffic in East Ridge. I'll fill in with that. This is David Toulis, Nuclear Radio, 92.7, 800-8949.
3, 2, 1.